Welcome to TheSocialPet.net. I'm Christina Carter.
And I'm Joe Carter, and today's topic is socialization. What is socialization?
Socialization is introducing, in this case, dogs to things that they're going to need to know for the rest of their socialization life, like shaping them, their behaviors to respond to certain things, and or preparing them for their work life in regards to a police dog or a service dog.
So dogs do have jobs now?
They absolutely have jobs. They have to fit into our human-animal community that we're asking them to come into, and we're asking them to behave certain ways, so we have to shape those drives like a herding dog or a working dog or those little lap dogs that we have. And so we have to prepare them for that with what we teach them.
Okay, so the idea then is to give them a life where they fit in. Is there a single formula for doing that socialization? Like, is there some kind of a simple checklist that is out there?
Some things are global, some things are more dog specific, temperament specific, or breed specific. So you have to look to see what breed the dog is. Like things, how to encounter new people is universal, but needing to cope with extended periods of time alone may be different from dog to dog, or if it's a dog that's used to protecting you, you may have to help them figure out what's appropriate and what's not. Or if, again, a herding dog, they're used to herding things around. So with kids in particular, you have to just know what to look for and how to help them get those urges out there and to know what's appropriate and what's not.
Okay, so are there any broad-based rules that should be considered when you're actually thinking about socializing?
Yes, there are two broad-based rules that should be considered. One is they need someone to look to for guidance. So you have to be the pack leader. They're getting their cues from you. If you're going to be insecure and unsure, then the dog's going to be insecure and unsure. So they're going to possibly react in a very negative way to the stimulus that's happening, whether it's kids running by or a bicycle or a car or something. And then number two is certain dogs have certain drives. So we have to know what's there and be able to cultivate those drives into something productive. And that is where socialization comes in. You're recognizing those things and able to use them to your advantage and to the dog's advantage, and just pick on their temperament, I guess, and how they're reacting to things naturally, and use that.
Okay, that's interesting. So is there a best time to socialize?
Yes, the most important time to socialize is up to 12 weeks old. So from the time they're born until they're 12 weeks old.
Okay, does that mean we should be paying more attention to the things that we currently don't? I mean, I don't think most people who get a puppy, like after 8 weeks or whatever, really, even they don't consider asking questions about what happened. Is that important?
Yes, it's very important. It's a critical period, and it's generally considered to be closed by around 5 months. But younger and more influential that you get to teach them things is better. So they'll better be able to acclimate to new things, new challenges and whatnot, if you're able to expose them to all of those things when they're younger.
Okay, so what are the key factors to the socialization? Just using the big picture, not the detail, but what in broad terms is factors into proper socialization?
The biggest one that I see and that I've noticed is to have a genuine human pack leader. So they need to know that you have their back is the biggest thing that I can think that people and dogs struggle with.
And why is that so important? Just to emphasize the point, what's up with that? Why is it so critical to have somebody to look to?
In the wild, dogs look to their pack leader to know how to respond to things in their environment, whether to be afraid, whether to be greeting, whether to be indifferent or even aggressive. So dogs see things through the pack leader's eyes, really. So however you're feeling is how they're going to feel. And, we can use things like history and tradition and say that they're part of their nature. And so once we become pack leader, they use us to discover how they should react to those situations. And it makes that bond, that relationship that we have with them, that much more powerful and effective. And it makes it easier for the dog to blend in with our human society like we're asking them to do.
Okay, so what happens if you wait too long to socialize? You had said that the critical window is up to like 5 months where the heavy lifting has to be done. But what if, for whatever reason, the appropriate things don't happen and or nothing happens in that first 5 months? Does that mean that the dog can't be socialized after that?
It becomes much harder. So it is much harder, and sometimes it's impossible, just depending on what it is and the dog and the situation. So waiting too long can result in the need for rehabilitation, not socialization. And it's just a much more painful process for human and dog alike. It's just different, so you have to use different rules.
Okay, so what are the most common symptoms of some deficiency in the socialization process? Are there signs that you can look for to see that a dog has not been properly socialized?
So yes, if you're not taught how to calmly and confidently address things that they'll come in contact with in their lives, dogs can become fearful, which can lead to aggression, becoming a barking lunatic, or shutting down and just peeing all over the place from fear. So there's the aggression can be in forms of food aggression towards people or other animals. I mentioned chasing bikes and cars, also people, depending on the situation, and inappropriate behaviors like marking, so lifting their leg, places for males and some females too, actually, jumping on people, excessive barking, and many annoying things, yanking on the leash. Just, they're also common.
Okay, so if you follow the formula and do everything appropriate in terms of socialization, can you guarantee that a dog will be on its best behavior all the time?
No, unfortunately, we just can't control all those variables. A puppy might encounter another aggressive dog at a very critical period, and it's just some things that happen, and you just can't control everything. Or if an accident happens, if they're in the car with you, I mean, they may have issues riding in the car after that, and rightfully so. I would too if I was in an accident and it got head on or whatever. Also, some dogs can suffer those physical or emotional issues like we humans. And they just influence behaviors. I know they do mine. There are certain things that I'll do because something happened in my childhood and I don't rationalize it. Well, it's just there. It's an emotional connection. So we can't really guarantee whether that proper socialization took place by how they behave. It's just some things just happen.
Are there things that can be done to bring a misbehaving dog back from a period of or a behavior pattern that's destructive or disruptive?
I want to say yes. It also just depends on how deeply embedded that behavior is. So the trauma or long-term habits can be harder to rehabilitate than behaviors that are caught really early on and dealt with. So, and again, it's just a whole nother tact you have to take if those deeply embedded behaviors are reinforced. You have to look at things a little differently.
Are there some broad categories involved with socialization, like some basic categories of things that you would want to look into to expose the dog to?
The broadest category would probably be people, places, and things, and other creatures, places, and things is probably the best way to look at it. So whether it's people or dogs, they may need to be taught to respond appropriately to children, adults, other animals. Deer is one, and squirrels, bikes, cars, and there's lots of things in their environment that you just need to focus on and get them to respond to appropriately. And then the detailed areas are the visual things, noises, smells, other places besides their home, because that's their territory, and riding in cars and at the vet and leaving. Some dogs like to bolt when they're leaving, and that's not a good thing. Someone can get hurt. So there's just a whole lot of broad categories that it is a broad category, socialization is, but there are very specific things. We don't think about them because it's everyday life kind of thing. So you need to think about it with a puppy, and just or a rescue that you're bringing in. Keep in mind what they will see, not necessarily what we don't see.
Can you explain the actual process that you have to go through to properly forge that socialization? I don't know, droplet or whatever you want to call it. I don't even know what to call it. But what is the process for actually conducting socialization?
That is a really big topic, and not one that I could just give you in a couple sentences. But in general, it's training them to look for how to respond to those environmental cues is the word I'm going to use. And also desensitize, say that 5 times real fast, them to certain things. For instance, if they don't like their paws touch their paws and associate that with treats or belly rubs, whatever they really, really like. So it's a good thing that happens to them. And that whole process is called operant conditioning in psychology. So it's something that you can use for your benefit and for theirs, because it's less stressful if they actually enjoy it.
What do you recommend that people do to make sure that their puppy was socialized properly? And should they take on that task themselves? Should they get help? Should it be blended? Or, what do they have to do in general to make sure that the thing happens? Solo or do you need a co-pilot or whatever?
The best thing I can recommend is research what breed of dog you have, what their native drives are going to be. So if I'm going to pick on herding dogs because that's what I know the most about. But for a herding dog, they're going to be herding children if they don't have an outlet for all of that energy. So work off that extra energy by taking a walk in the morning, and then just asking them to perform other behaviors. So whether it's come to you and you're going to do a healing session on loose leash walking, or recall games to keep them focused on you and coming back. So that's the constructive way to satisfy those drives. And then ask questions of your breeder if it's a purebred or of the rescue, because usually if you're dealing with the rescue, they know what breed of dog they have adopted out to you, and they can help you answer some of those questions. And then the stimulation and socialization, ask them if it's a rescue dog, and if your regular breeder, what kind of stimulation and socialization the puppy or rescue dog has gotten before it's come to you, because those are important for you to build on later once your puppy's with you and you're dealing with those everyday things. And you probably will want to consider classes, because I don't think that you can do it yourself, and it's not necessarily not you doing it. So let me rephrase that. You will be doing the work, but it's good to have outside stimulation happening, so distractions and other people in the room when you're working on it. You can work on things at home, but it's a whole different ball game doing it at home than it is doing it somewhere where there's other people or dogs. And you never know when an unexpected situation is going to pop up that you wouldn't get at home. And those are all good things to have, so your puppy knows to look at you when you're having your training sessions, and you can say how to react to it. So it's just building that bond and that relationship better. And then how to look for those classes is you can look up the term puppy socialization classes, or puppy kindergarten is another one, or beginner 1 if your puppy's old enough for that. I would recommend, if your puppy's young, to start with a puppy kindergarten. And you can see what local clubs in your area, what classes they're offering, or if you can't find anything in your area, call your local vet and see what they recommend, because dog sitters and training clubs alike, they usually lead to things at their veterinarian, because dog people, that's where they're going, is to the vet. That's a good place to get contact information.
Okay, well, it sounds to me like we've covered the basics. Is there anything else that you would want to add to that, or do you feel like at least we've laid the foundation? I know there's a lot of information that is left unsaid by virtue of the fact that if we covered it all, no one would be impractical. So this I think is a good start. Do you have anything to add?
Only that the idea is to get the information and commit to the disciplines you need to help your puppy to mature into a happy and healthy member of your pack. It's a commitment, and consistency is the key.
All right, well, that sounds like we've covered all the basics around socialization. Obviously, we couldn't cover the whole depth and breadth. It's not practical in a single video, but I'm sure there'll be more details to come going into the future. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and thanks for joining our Facebook group, subscribing to the YouTube channel, or joining us on G+. And thanks for helping to build better relationships between people and pets.
Thank you.
Y'all come back now here.